Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet a true legal power couple. They've been married for more than 3 decades, and they run one of the most respected immigration firms in the great state of Texas. Their incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I hate it that the word immigration has become so polarizing. You can just say immigration and people instantly take sides. And it doesn't need to be that way. We are a country of immigrants, and I think we all agree that we want legal migration. And that's why I invited this next couple on my show. They are a true legal power couple. Michelle Saenz-Rodriguez and George Rodriguez. They're with Saenz-Rodriguez and Associates. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Well, you were just telling me that you guys met just before law school, fell in love, and then, 32 years working together. That's incredible. All right, why don't you start, Michelle?
Start with me? Okay. It's been quite a journey for us. I don't think we would have done it any other way. People ask us all the time, how do you work together? We have offices on different sides of the office. We drive separate cars. Mostly that was because our kids were little as they were growing up. We're now empty nesters as of recent. So we don't spend as much time together anymore because of the work. But the one thing that we do, this is our marital promise that we make very early on, is that we have lunch together every single day.
I love that.
It used to be to organize who's taking what kid to what event, but now it's become more of we just like to connect, and it gives us a break from the work.
Yeah, and you're both brilliant lawyers. You probably have a respect for each other that is just kind of off the charts.
That's what I always tell folks who ask me, how does it work out? How can you work with your wife? And it's really about respecting each other and seeing each other, in the same level, and I've got a lot of respect for the work that Michelle does and her dedication to her clients and to the practice of immigration. And she's been recognized for that. And, the real advantage to it is that you've got somebody that that you trust, that you're able to bounce ideas off of and talk about cases. The downside to that is that it never ends. So you go home and you're having dinner, and when the kids were young, they'd go, okay, that's it. Stop, time out. Can we talk about me?
Right. No, but I love that. And you probably, after a while, know how the other is going to respond to a question. Do you, Michelle?
Absolutely. We have 2 different styles in the courtroom. It's very interesting. And for years, people thought that we were brother and sister and did not know that we were married.
Wow.
Just in terms of the way we interact, a lot of people have had no idea that we were a couple. When you go to work, it's very professional. When you're in the courtroom, it's very professional. And so we do have 2 very different styles. But we do love the work that we do. And one of the reasons that we also decided that this was going to be our journey is because I wanted the ability to balance my career and motherhood. And we didn't want to miss out on the kids and me being able to step out of the office. And I was the Girl Scout leader. I was the cheerleader coach for a period of time. He was the volleyball coach for our daughter's team. He coached baseball. And so we were able to maintain that balance in our life, which was extremely important to us in order to have us run the practice and be good parents at the same time and not have to give it up.
Wow. Beautiful. Okay, let's talk more about your firm. We're going to pull up your website, and as we scroll down your website, talk about the kind of cases that you guys handle.
So we do, really where we kind of established ourselves was doing removal cases. Folks who were either here out of status or entered illegally, or folks who were here lawfully but were not citizens and for whatever reason got themselves in trouble and in deportation proceedings. But we also do a lot of family petitions. We do citizenship. We do just about everything that is immigration. Not a lot of employment-based immigration, but, like I tell my clients, I know enough about it that if you're in removal proceedings, I can protect you. I can defend you, knowing what I know. So,
Michelle, were you?
I'd like to say we're in the business of hope. We both represent a lot of children. A lot of children have made their way up from the South and the Northern Triangle, mainly based on push factors in the Northern Triangle. And so over the years, I've spent a lot of time with unaccompanied minors, little children, babies, in many cases, that have found their way into this country, many to reunite with their parents, others that don't have parents and that have either been trafficked and end up here, or that come from just really bad abusive households and end up unaccompanied here in the United States. And so a lot of our work really has revolved around vulnerable populations, whether it be abused women or people who have been trafficked, asylum seekers. And so that has been a big part of our work as part of our practice.
George, what's one of your favorite success stories over the years?
Oh, wow. There was one that always sticks out, and it was a mom, and I think she had 3 kids at the time. And she just had a heartbreaking story. She had to leave Mexico because her parents couldn't afford to feed her. So she came to the United States at the age of 13.
Wow.
Incredible mom. I mean, she took parenting classes and homework classes so that she could be a good mom to her kids because she felt like she didn't know what being a mom was about. Clearly, she knew what being a mom was about. And so she ended up in removal proceedings over something very minor. It wasn't even a criminal case. And so we fought it, and we actually lost. And I took it up on appeal, and I said, I promise you, it was the one and only time I've ever made a promise. I'm going to win this case. And I took it up on appeal, won on appeal, came back, and actually got it granted. And the only reason the judge didn't want to grant it the first time was because he was retiring and he never granted that type of case. It's a very, very high standard that you have to meet. But we laid out all the equities, all the information about the kids who were all U.S. citizens. And thankfully, I was able to get it back to court. And by the time it came back, it was with a different judge. And even the judge said, Mr. Rodriguez, why are we here? Why are we even debating this?
What I love about this, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but George is kind of getting choked up.
Yeah, it does every time.
No, but I think that's beautiful. It means that this is not just a job. Michelle, same question.
I think for me, it's probably one of my human trafficking cases. I had a case that was referred to me actually by the Dallas County DA's office several years ago, and she was a little girl. She was an orphan, and her grandmother died, and so she ended up with a relative, and that relative ended up trafficking her to some other relative, and she brought her into the United States, and then she ended up abused and pregnant by one of the traffickers. And she was hidden in a closet with the baby until she could escape. And she gave birth at the age of 12.
Wow.
So when she gave birth at Parkland, that's when they started to wonder what's going on here. But they did release her. And a few weeks later, she was able to make a cry for help. And she was ultimately released, and they were able to prosecute. A neighbor in the apartment complex helped her get to the Mexican consulate and seek some help. And so we were able to get her. Ultimately, her status was regularized. She became a resident. She's now a citizen, and she's actually a paralegal, hoping to go to law school one day. I still keep in touch with her. She's about 23 or 24 now. And those are the cases that you just never forget. They stay with you for the rest of your life.
And I can see why you two are so successful. I mean, you really care. You're all in. It's beautiful. Obviously, there's a lot of chatter right now about what's going to happen under the Trump administration. Are you seeing kind of an uptick in calls?
We are seeing an incredible amount of phone traffic in our office. People are worried. We don't know ultimately what's going to happen, but we have to be prepared. And it's not just the undocumented population or the mixed status family. It's our dreamers who are wondering what's going to happen to my status. It's my employers who are saying what's going to happen to my workforce, because the numbers are staggering of mixed families, of undocumented population. Whether we like it or not, this country is affected or will be affected in every aspect: agriculture, hospitality, our food sources. Just in so many ways, we're going to be impacted. Construction.
Yes.
So what happens if this idea of mass deportation is actually carried out? The impact is far beyond just having people leave the United States. It's going to touch every aspect of everyone's life.
Yes. George, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and I would say, Jeff, one of the things I'd like to, address is the fact, this idea of, wanting open borders. None of us want open borders. We want our borders secure. We want to be secure. We want to protect our country. And I always joke with people. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm an immigration lawyer. Last thing I want is open borders.
Right.
But I think there's a reality that a lot of times gets ignored because, yes, I understand the attention in terms of what we need in enforcement is getting right now. But we also have to look at the root causes. When you look at, for instance, the visa bulletin and you see that imaginary line and how long it is, even for employers. If you want to, employ somebody, it's going to take you 10, 15 years to be able to get them lawful status. Yeah. How do you operate? How do you deal with that? And so I think the reason that a lot of people feel like they need to either overstay their visas or come in illegally has to do with the broken system that we have. And so we really need to focus on opening paths to have those folks who are going to take care of our agricultural needs, our healthcare needs, because you look at the DACA kids who are now, grown adults, and a lot of them are in the healthcare industry,
yes,
and they're caretakers. And these folks have been paying taxes, they've been paying into Social Security with absolutely no guarantee that they would ever be able to get a benefit from any of those programs. So there is a compassionate side that I think we also have to give attention to, because our country will suffer. Our economy will suffer if we don't take care of these folks.
Absolutely. We have about a minute or two left. So why don't you both have a final word on, if somebody's watching this broadcast and they say, I might need to consult you two, why don't you speak some words? You want to start, Michelle?
Sure. I mean, I think the best response right now is that remain calm. We got to wait and see what's going to happen. But there are people out there that are willing to help. Our office is more than willing to consult with anyone who needs advice on what the next steps are going to be. Right now, there are a lot of unknowns, but I think the main thing to keep in mind is there is the rule of law, and there are laws in place to protect people, and people, especially people that have status right now. Nothing's going to happen instantly. And people do have rights, and they need to know what those rights are, and they need to exercise those rights.
George, final word.
Yeah, if you need help with an immigration issue, please either call us or call another experienced attorney. A lot of what we've been seeing, Jeff, especially with TikTok, we call them the TikTok lawyers. Mm-hmm. They're not even lawyers. They're sometimes illegal practitioners who go out there and just start saying, things that aren't true. Or you've also have some unscrupulous practitioners. Lawyers have the reputation they have for a reason. Not all lawyers are good. And so you've got folks who are filing frivolous applications, which hurts everybody.
Yes.
Because you see these applications, going up, but you also see the denials going up. And now all of a sudden, I've got a bona fide case, and it's undergoing all this, checks and delay because of these other folks.
Yes. You guys are so eloquent. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your love story, and sharing your mission and ministry with the world. We're going to end with their website. We'll put that up on the screen. And George and Michelle, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
You really appreciate it.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.